This is Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today that you will consider this your vitamin or your supplement for your mind and your heart. And wherever you receive podcasts from, would you please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom, leave a rating and a brief written review, and pass the word along. And I'm looking to coach and train the next level leaders. If you'd like to book a free call with me, go to drronblake.com/call, drronblake/call. Get on my calendar and let's discuss how you and I can work together and we can lead you to wherever you need to go. If you need help with your dreams, with productivity, with procrastination, how to get past that, goal setting, anything with leadership, hop on a call and let's talk and see if there's a possibility of us working together. Today I want to talk to you about 5 things a leader should never do. Now, I don't usually like to state things in the negative, but there are times where it has to happen. You have to talk about these 5 things. And let's just jump right into it. The first one is don't be afraid to make a decision. Often it is from lack of experience, or I've even met a group of people, a kind of leader, who made some decisions or was a part of a decision-making team somewhere in the past, and it really didn't work out well, and they took a lot of the hit and a lot of the blame for how badly things went. Well, I want to help you with that. Don't be afraid to make a decision. As a matter of fact, that's why you're there. You are there to make a decision. So you are there to make decisions. Now let's talk about some of the things that may happen and then some of the ways you need to make sure that this happens. One of the first things that I want to discuss that I don't believe I've heard anyone really discuss it, but I've experienced it in my own leading. I remember a particular time when I moved to a place and we were clipping off some major change, one after another. And the other things that leaders have a tendency to do is to think that nothing much happened before you got there. And you once in a while need to step back and see what kinds of changes has this organization gone through. The organization that I'm speaking of had lost a long-time, very beloved leader, then had a very short-term leader where things didn't go real well, and then I came, and so I was the third leader in less than 2 years. And just any time you change leader is tantamount to change. And then I began changing and making changes, and though most of them were very good, and even the one where I crossed the line of decision fatigue, there came a point where I implemented a program and policy. No one slowed me down on my team. Everyone thought it, or at least what they said to me publicly and privately was, this is just what we need, let's move full speed ahead. I received a green light from the governing board and from everyone. But it literally was the last straw. And I couldn't imagine why such a difficult response for something that everyone had fairly universally hailed as where we were and what we needed to do and something that would make a significant difference. Finally, one of the people in the organization came to me and said just what I've described. They started ticking off all of the change that had happened in their lives in the last 2 to 3 years. And as I listened to that individual, naming things that happened before I got there, things that happened when I arrived, and changes that I was shepherding through, I realized that she was right. It wasn't that it wasn't a good thing to do. It wasn't even that it was not the right thing to do. It's just I needed to give the group some time to breathe and to process the changes that have already gone through in their lives. They really were suffering from decision/change fatigue. And so I backed off. I immediately stopped what we were doing, stood up in front of the entire group, and apologized that I didn't take their thoughts and feelings and where they were, and that I asked their forgiveness. You know, I'm a big believer in that because it gives the leader credibility. I don't mean that you need to do a mea culpa every week, but when it's very apparent that you've been wrong and that you weren't as sensitive to people as you should be, don't hesitate. Stand up and say, I'm sorry, my bad, it's on me. But just sort of use a little bit of timing. Now, I understand there are certain times when the change is of such importance and such significance, you can't wait for perfect timing. You have to just move ahead. But sometimes as a leader, you need to step outside of yourself and ask, if I were a part of this organization, would I feel like I'm being run over by a truck? Would I feel like this is my agenda, not the agenda that should propel the organization forward? So one of the things when you're making decision is to make sure that you're doing what you can to reduce decision and change fatigue. The other thing that I think when it comes to making a decision is we need to, my tendency, and it may not be yours, but my tendency was oftentimes I focused on what I was trying to solve in the moment and really what short-term benefit it would have. That's when you get into change and decision fatigue, when you're just looking at everything in the short term, one change after another. I began then to start focusing on long-term benefits. Where was this decision? Where would this decision, or for you today, where will this decision take the organization, not just today and tomorrow and next week and next month, but in months from now and even a year or two from now? Never forget to study and think about and ponder the long-term effect of what decisions you are making today. One of the reasons that people are afraid to make a decision is they haven't really set a firm deadline. I have discovered that if you set a firm deadline, then that means you have to start gathering all the facts. It means you need to start meeting with your team. It often involves delegating certain things to folks so that they can look into it. Let's check it out. Let's make sure that we do a study. I often tell you have to put a deadline on that or it'll go on forever. There will always be one more bit of information that you haven't just completely received yet. There'll always be one more person to talk to. Now, I'm not asking for you not to seek as much information as possible, and I'm also asking you to talk to all of the people that are necessary to talk about. But there becomes a thin line that is crossed in which the request for more information and the request for more talk is a stalling tactic trying to keep us from making a decision. So when I'm faced with making a decision, I put a deadline out there. I put a time. It must be done by this time. I believe I've alluded to it, but another thing that you need to consider so you won't be afraid to make decisions, and this is a very difficult and oftentimes it can be a guessing game, and that is, what will be the unintended consequence of this decision if it goes through? There was a major section of my life where that never even entered my thought patterns. But now it has become one of the questions I continually ask. And one of the problems as a leader is we only know what we know. We know what we don't know, but we don't know what we don't know. And therefore, this is one where I bring in people on the team and ask, if we do this, if we go this direction, what might be an unintended consequence that we're having a hard time seeing? Now, here's an exercise that no matter who you talk to and how many guesstimates you get on what the unintended consequences will be of your decision, you will never have total clarity. I use the unintended consequence exercise as I make decision I kind of view them as the speed bumps that are in the road. They don't force you to stop, but they do force you to slow down and pay attention. I believe that's what that question does, the unintended consequence question. Doesn't stop the process, but slows you down a little bit just to make sure you're not missing something. Now, you'll not get them all right, but once you do these things, make sure you've reduced the decision fatigue and create a firm deadline by which you are going to take action one way or the other. Make sure that part of the process you focus on long-term benefits, and then always at least ask, are there unintended consequences we're not thinking about today? Those will help you so you'll be a leader who will be able to confidently make decisions, because one thing not to do is be afraid to make a decision. Let me give you the second thing that I want to say, and that is don't be a whiner. Don't whine. Set a standard for yourself, leader. Don't give in to the emotion of whining and complaining. Don't give in to it, because if you as the leader begin to market whining, it will catch on throughout the organization. Let me give you another reason why a leader should not be a whiner. It's annoying. Now, perhaps I'm the only person in the world who feels that way, but the moment people start whining, I can almost feel myself moving away from them emotionally, mentally. They're not a person I want to spend a lot of time with, because I already know what the problems are. I already know what the doubts are. I already know 1,000 ways something can't be done. And whiners are usually people who love to play the victim. Stop playing the victim. Even if you have been seriously victimized by past leaders or past places where you've been employed, I get that. Push away, put it in the past, quit whining. It is exceedingly annoying. And get past your emotions. Leader, if you don't have proper emotional health or are taking the steps to be an emotionally healthy person, you will not only cause consternation and difficulty in your own life, you'll be a disaster in leadership. We cannot have leaders who are emotionally unstable. Get a hold of your emotions. There have been times in my life where I've had to give myself this advice more than anyone else. We do not need our leaders to be unhinged. We do not need our leaders, because of past experiences, past hurts, past disappointments and heartaches, to go through life whining about everything. Stop it, get help, get emotional help, and move on. Leader, the second thing, don't be a whiner. The third thing, these aren't in any particular order, by the way. The third is don't be deceptive. Be transparent. Don't try to deceive people in your organization, or for that matter, outside of your organization. If you begin to deceive people on your team and all around you, they will not trust you. And the only currency in leadership is trust. You may think you are a positional leader because the organization says the bylaws of your organization say you're in charge. But if the people around you don't trust you, you are a leader on paper only. We only give people leadership allegiance whom we trust. So don't start deceiving. And if it ever appears like that may appear to some that what you've done, clarify, tell what your heart was and your intention. But once you begin to deceive and lie to people, you may be able to work at that organization for days, weeks, months, and years. But the day that happened, the day you started practicing deception, is the day your work is over. The fifth and final idea is don't be a dictator, and I'm going to add another one, or a micromanager. That's number 5. I'll do number 5. A micromanager. Hire people, bring people around you who are equipped to do the job, give them the tools to do the job, and give them the space to do the job. It doesn't mean you're disinterested or you don't care, but that if you bring in qualified people, turn them loose, do not continually look over their shoulder, do not continue to try to micromanage everything that they are doing. And the other one that I talked about, which is number 5, is don't be a dictator. Bring a team around you, bring some trusted folks together, and though you are maybe the final decider, get input from as many people as you can. Seek to build consensus, seek to build positive relationships, because leader, you can do that. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. Words on leadership, goal setting, productivity, and a whole lot more. I trust today this has been like a vitamin or a supplement for your mind and heart. And wherever you receive podcasts, please subscribe to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. Leave a rating and a brief written review. It would be really, really helpful. Remember, I'm looking to coach and train the next level leaders. If you'd like to book a free call, 30 minutes, go to drronblake.com/call, drronblake/call, BLAKE, and get on my calendar. There's a little bit of information to fill out. You'll get on my calendar. I will call you, and let's discuss how you and I can work together, and you can launch your dream or seek help with any of these areas that we talk about. You've been listening to Dr. Ron's Words of Wisdom. Leader, remember, I don't care who you are, what's happening, or what's going on. You, my friend, are doing better than you think you are. And until next time, this is Dr. Ron saying, please have a great and blessed day.